Hi there, I'm Rod Bergeron, and today we're going to be doing something that's monochromatic. That means just one color. And I'm going to use my favorite watercolor color, which is Payne's Gray. I'm wetting the page just below half to the top there, and I'm going to install some Payne's Gray for the sky, just going from the left to the right, sort of in some long swoopy lines across there, okay? Now, I'm not gonna rinse this brush out, but I'm gonna put it into some water and just pick up a little bit of water here and a little bit more Payne's Gray. And we're gonna tap this along the water line there, or along the horizon line, I should say, just like that. And we're just gonna let that bleed up into the background, okay? And then we're gonna take this, we're gonna leave about a 1/4 inch, maybe 5mm line between the water, where the water is, and across there like that, okay? And I'm gonna pick up a little bit more Payne's Gray and put that into that line. And we're just gonna let that bleed for a couple of seconds here. I just tapped the Payne's Gray again. Make this a little bit darker, this tree line, a little bit darker here. Whenever we want to bump up the saturation level, make it a little bit more intense color, we just touch we don't add any more water to our brush. We just touch the paint and put it into the wet area and let it bleed off to wherever it is it's going to bleed off to, okay? That's probably enough in there now. So I'm going to take this now, which is still wet, still got quite a bit of pigment on it. I'm just going to put it across the foreground like this. And again, I'm going to pick up a little bit more, make it a little bit more intense in the foreground. I'm going to put this into the water and right back out. I'm not trying to knock all the pigment off. I'm just trying to get it a little bit wet so we can get some of that pigment moving a little bit. Okay, just going to tap that a few more times. All right. This is my #1 round watercolor brush, and I've sharpened one end of it with a utility knife. So I'm just gonna, this is called scribing. I'm just gonna scribe out of some of these wet areas right here. I'm trying to create a little bit of foliage. That's pretty good across there like that. That's all right. Now, you see where we left that dry line in across there? We're just going to leave that. That's going to look like a field that's way off in the distance, okay? All right. One last thing here. This is my little bag of salt. I'm going to put a little bit of salt into the tops of the trees along there, and a little bit of salt into the tops of the trees along there, and a little bit in this wet area across the front. Okay? Don't cover it with salt. The idea is to get, a few, you can see here, there's a few salt grains. Down here, there's a little bit more, but I'll try to zoom in here so that you can see it. It's not covered with salt. It's just enough to add some visual interest across here. What happens is some of the salt is going to turn into salt water, and some of it is just going to stay as a salt crystal. And then that creates kind of two separate effects that are going to go on in there. But the idea now is to not take a hairdryer to it. Don't put a fan on it or anything. Just let it naturally dry. Sometimes it takes an hour. Sometimes it takes a lot longer than that, depending upon how much water that you have on there. Look what's happening to our sky here already when I did those swoopy kind of lines across there. Look at what's going on there. That's going to turn out pretty cool. And you can see some of the salt effects that are happening here already, especially right here. All those little dots are because of the salt. All right, let's let this dry and see what happens. All right, let's check this out. Look at what the salt has done back there. Very interesting. The same here. And across the front, it's created all these little all this little foliage for us that we really didn't have to do too much work for. Look at the difference here in the contrast between this white line and these darker areas. And this is why you want to leave some white of the page. It gives this awesome, awesome contrast. All right, what happens when we put our mat on there? Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I like it. I also like this in the sky right here. So remember, in the sky, you want to leave a little bit of white space. You want to put your Payne's gray in very lightly. You can make it, you know, straight across or swoopy like that. I think these kind of add some really nice visual interest to it, you know, and then you put your mat on there. Yeah, nice. So I want you to really concentrate on this idea of experimentation. Everything is an experiment. If the painting turns out, that's great. But if you go into it thinking, all right, I'm going to experiment with this, then you're less likely to be disappointed and you're more likely to paint more. And that should be the goal. The goal should be to paint every day, to have fun with it, to try new things and see what happens. You know, just give it a go and see what happens. I enjoy painting because I'm always amazed at the outcome. Sometimes the outcome is terrible and, you know, you just have to chalk it up to it was an experiment. But sometimes you get like that, right? Like these little things that just surprise you. All right, thanks for joining me today. If you're currently a subscriber, I thank you very much. And if you're not currently a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks a lot for watching today. We'll see you again real soon.